All righty. Thanks for coming. Appreciate y'all coming out. Media day before the first day. Always an exciting day around here for coaches and players alike. And you get those pre-camp anxious moments a little bit, and you're ready to roll and you're ready to start. And you've really been working for tomorrow and this training camp since the day after we walked off the field in Tucson at the bowl game. And so you're kind of ready to go, and this is the fourth quarter. It's the last part of your training for preparation for the season, and so I'm excited about it. And this training camp has a little bit different feel for us as a staff as we kind of talk about it. A lot of that has to do with a lot of the guys coming back that have played and played well, and so the theme a little bit or part of this training camp is not just the experience coming back, but it's guys that we do need some spots replaced. We do need some answers to some spots. I think the leadership developing and the chemistry amongst the team is always of interest and of note as we evaluate all of that. And you know, the mix of the physicalness and the competitiveness and how many live reps you have versus getting guys to the fight and making sure you're fresh. So that's, as you look into training camp, we got a lot of guys back. I think this is a talented recruiting class with newcomers, with some transfers coming in that will create for themselves roles. You know, my guess is as good as yours. It's so much of how can he come in and play has to do with non-football stuff, moving to Logan for the first time, being away from home. How quick do they learn the offense or the defense so they can learn it, know how to line up and execute and let their God-given ability take over? How can they handle the speed of the game and the speed of a higher level or a different level? The quicker that happens, the sooner you can see their God-given talent, and some of these newcomers will come in and be sprinkled in amongst some of these guys returning. And we've certainly had a great summer. Dave Scholes and his staff have done a very, very nice job in developing our players. We've always said we're a developmental program. The summer is a huge, huge part of that. And so a lot of these guys, even though they're coming back, their bodies have changed from the last time you've seen them on the field. And so a lot of those guys need to take a step in terms of their development on the field. Now they've done it off the field, but they've got to individually take a step and make a step improvement better. And then if we do enough of that collectively as a whole, I think we'll be a better football team. I know we're going to be a good team. We strive to put ourselves in the position in the month of November to compete for a Mountain West championship. That goal hasn't changed since we've walked in here, and it's something that we truly believe we can put ourselves in a position to, and we can't wait to do it. So a few additions I want to make sure that you guys are aware of. You know, first one, Jalen Green is a USC grad school transfer wide receiver. Devin Hextall is a wide receiver from LA Valley Junior College. He'll have 2 years. He'll be a 2 for 2. And then Shaq Bond is a DB out of Southwestern Junior College transfer. He'll be a 3 for 3, comes in as a sophomore. Louis Compton is not on the roster due to academics. And so those are just kind of a few personnel changes right there, just make sure everybody's aware of. And at this time, we'll go ahead and open it up for any questions about these guys or camp. And Al, we'll start it off with you. Good to have you back, Al.
Well, I'm not back yet.
Yes, you are, Al. You're here, right to my left.
I got two things.
Okay.
One, last year there was a lot of talk this time about winning close football games. And last year, again, a lot of close ones got away. Mm-hmm. Do you address that again as much as you did last year, or in a different way, or what? That's my first question.
I think we'll be addressing it in a little bit different way. I'll let you guys point it out as much as you do. From a negative standpoint, I think everybody in this building's well aware of that. The key to having a great season from a good season to a great season is we do have to win our share of close games. And so the emphasis of finishing, being exact, being detailed, dialing in at the end of a practice, the end of a drill, the end of a competitive drill is what's going to come up this training camp. It's something that we're going to talk about. We're going to learn to do it mentally in several different ways. I don't need to go into detail about all that, but I think our guys will be ready for it, and I think they'll be hungry for those opportunities to prove that we can play and we can make plays, and we're playmakers late in the game, and we all recognize that we need to win games at the end.
The other thing was there are some position changes of guys that moved around.
Sure.
Most of that, did it happen in spring camp, or are you still anticipating maybe in fall an adjustment or two that you've evaluated after spring for positions?
You'd have to be specific
Well,
for me to guess. Go ahead.
Like, Rockamore's played safety and he's moved around, but he started to play some, it
Yeah,
looked like a little
yeah.
bit as the outside linebacker
Yeah.
and stuff. But is that, do you anticipate more of that, or do you think you've probably solidified that in
I think the biggest thing is our coaches offensively and defensively. You want flexibility in terms of lineups, position, personnel groups, all that. The ability for John Trell, Barron, Gage, a bunch of those safeties to drop down and play an outside backer in a certain personnel package. Play safety, I think, is the flexibility of that defense. Chase Christiansen will play inside and outside. Our offensive linemen play multiple spots. Coach Farmer does a great job of trying to get our best five in there. We'll see some in training camp. We experimented with some in the spring, so you'll see that just a little bit. The move with Gerald Bright to running back is permanent as of right now, so I don't see that changing.
Coach, I'm wondering about with the new redshirt rule. I know that it seems like universally coaches are in favor of it.
Yeah,
it seems to be
it's a great rule.
thing. How do you plan with Utah State to utilize that? I mean,
Yeah.
obviously you don't know who you're going to use it on.
No.
But just, I mean, have you thought about?
I have. Yeah, we've talked about it in our staff meetings. That'll be an ongoing talk, not throughout training camp, throughout early part of the season. So there's some strategy involved, and certainly I'm not going to share that right now with certain guys, but I think you'll see. It's a phenomenal rule, by the way. We've been trying to get that passed. Hats off to Todd Berry of the AFCA for really spearheading that. Excuse me, that rule. That's going to help with a lot of things. That's going to help with not just the obvious, a few freshmen or a few guys that have red shirts available can play in a few games and get some experience. Yes, that's the obvious. But you're also going to be able to use guys and take them, play them in games late in the year when you have some injuries. You are maybe playing your starters extended reps on special teams. It's going to be able to help some of that. I think you're going to see certain guys playing early in the season in some situations to actually see how they react in a game, knowing that you still have a red shirt. I also think that helps a lot of those newcomers, especially you think about freshmen, obviously, but it's even some transfers that have red shirts available, or returning players that have red shirts available. It helps, I think, their spirit. I think it's pretty proven around here, and in most places, most kids get their best grades in the fall while they're playing. You're playing, you have that motivation, all those things. You have a limited window to study and to do all this, and so you have to get it done. Our kids get better grades a lot of times in the fall. I think it helps in the locker room, potentially more guys are playing. You can have different roles. And then guys may play them right out of a red shirt because they're playing very well. They may be more experimental in September. So you're obviously going to have to keep a close eye on that number. With that 4. But I think what you'll see is some different, I don't want to say demeanor. I think you're going to see some different football teams at the end of the football year, especially. That could come up. I'm kind of predicting it. Bowl game late in November. All of a sudden we've got these guys that have 4 games left, and we're going to go ahead and play them. And now your kickoff cover team looks a little different, or your defense looks a little different because guys are rested a little bit more. And so I think there's some strategy involved, and we'll certainly keep a close eye on that this year, and that'll be ongoing discussions as the year goes on. It's a great question, and it's a great rule.
Coach, you had some banged up receivers during spring camp. camp. Not only that, a lot of newcomers joining the mix right now. How intriguing is that position battle going to be throughout fall camp?
The outside receiver position will look completely different than you saw in the spring game. That is the understatement of this press conference. Okay? With the addition of Jalen Green, Devin Hextall, the two true freshmen, Devin Tompkins and Tim Patrick, that we signed, you're adding 4 dynamic wide receivers to that mix, in addition to the guys we have coming back, and Ron Quavian, Tarver, Savon Scarver, Taylor Compton, Chad Artist. You've got some guys in that room. The competition in that room just amped up. It just got better. Guys are going to have to be consistent and prove that they deserve playing time. But that room, the outside receiver room, changed the most since we last talked. And it's a great job by, just I think our coaches in recruiting and identifying those guys. But those guys wanted to be here. They chose us over other schools, and I'm excited about them.
Can you talk specifically about Devin Hextall and Jalen Green and just what they're going to bring to the table?
Just the obvious that I know from recruiting, but until I see them start practicing tomorrow, just seeing them in the weight room, just seeing them interact with our players so far this summer, that's the extent of my evaluation. It's not very deep right now. Devin's tall. He's taller than Ron Quavian. Jalen is very good size. He's got big hands. He's got strong hands. You see from some of the catches he made at USC, and certainly knew about him when we were game planning for SC. And he's a former high school athletic quarterback that actually played QB at SC. Devin is, I think, a little under the radar because didn't get a ton of touches in JC, but we're excited about both those guys.
Coach, I suspect there are going to be some returning starters that are going to really need to compete hard to retain their starting spots. Is this the most depth that you've had since you've been the head coach here?
I think so. I haven't, Jason, done that research. I think off the cuff, kind of my gut tells me you're probably right. I know in a lot of areas, you look at the O-line, you got 5 returning starters, and we all know there's 3 or 4 guys that are going to be right there in the mix, and that starting O-line could look different, potentially. Who knows? I think you got a lot of returning starters on the defensive line. You add Fualelua into it. You got returners at linebacker, and you add Tipa Naliai into it now. Yes, we do have a lot of depth, and yes, every day guys have to, by production, you have to earn that spot, and there'll be some apologize. There'll be some spots that the depth chart probably changes daily. And you guys, if we can minimize the live tweets at practice, that'd be nice. But, you're going to see different guys go with the 1s and different guys go with the 2s. And then there's going to be a freshman or newcomer all of a sudden, just like Chucky Keaton, Jalen Davis, that are with the 3s for a few days. And then all of a sudden they go with the 2s. And then the head coach is going to walk by and say, I'd like to see him with the 1s. And if they keep playing really well, you're going to see them play against Michigan State. So somebody's going to do that. I don't know who it is yet. But that's kind of been a little bit, that's been ongoing here for a while with true freshmen coming in and earning starting roles in big openers.
Coach, how important is this fall camp for the running backs and really solidifying and finding out whose roles are going to be what? Yeah,
it's going to be important for the running backs and the offensive staff. You got, Darwin Thompson, Gerald Bright. You got 6 of them that have played except Darwin. And Darwin got here in the spring. Trey Miller and Mo Walker are 2 big backs. El Toro Ellen has played last year in certain roles. Justin Hervey's played last year in certain roles. Who steps up? Who's been a surprise? Who can stay healthy? Who can run the ball well in practices and early games in September when they get nicked up and bruised up? And I truly think the value of the running back is not known until October and November. The best running backs I've ever been around here at Utah State got better as the year went on. One of the best that I've ever had around here at Utah State is Abu Wilson when I played. Abu Wilson got stronger as the year went on. Keep feeding him the rock. Turbin had that mentality. Kerwin Williams, oh my goodness. He did this at the end of the year. Joey DiMartino at the end of the year. I just think of those guys at the end of the year. It's not training camp running backs, and I hope they're listening to this. It's not early September. It's getting beat up, learning how to practice, being a tough blue-collar running back. As you go down the stretch, you get stronger and better when everybody else gets weaker. And I think that's the true test, litmus test of a running back.
What's the biggest thing that Keith Patterson changes in your defense?
Oh, I don't know about changes, Al.
I mean, but is there a mentality?
I tell you what, our players have really responded to Coach Patterson very, very well. He is a positive, uplifting type of person by nature. He has come in and really done exactly what I've asked him to do and more. I asked him to learn our defense. I asked him to call our defense and then add his wrinkle and his twist to it, and he's absolutely doing that with some personnel tweaks here and there, some schematic things, some things maybe to make it simpler for our defense and allow them to play faster and very, very aggressive. You're going to see a very similar type aggressive play caller that we've had here in the past from a defense. That's his mentality, but he is going to get those guys to run to the football. He, Frank Miley, Stacy Collins, Julius Brown, Waniunga, they've got tremendous chemistry in that room. He's a great leader of men. Our players have really responded to him, and that's kind of what Keith Patterson brings to the table.
Coach,
Yeah, babe.
last year for Jordan Love, it was a different situation coming into campus. I mean, back up. How's he reacted?
For who?
For Jordan Love.
Okay.
How's he kind of reacted coming into camp, being kind of the guy in the front of the pack?
Yeah, I thought he handled spring pretty well when he started out as number one. Here we go again, right? And you got to handle starting out at training camp number one. He's got two young, talented quarterbacks that I know Coach Yost is really excited about the future. How quick that future is, I don't think any of us know with Henry Colombi and Andrew Peasley. And so, first of all, for Jordan, I mean, if we started today, he'd be the starting quarterback. Does he extend his lead over those guys? Does he make it obvious he's the best one in the program? And then does he improve his game? I've been proud of Jordan. I think his leadership skills have grown and developed over the spring and the summer. Knowledge of our offense as it continues to prove, and that's what he's done. I think his consistency will go up, and he's gotten bigger and stronger. He's up to 220 pounds. And so I hope and trust and really truly believe that Jordan Love's best days are in the near future coming up.
Kind of with that, what is the dynamic of that group? Are they like highly competitive
Yeah,
with each other? Is it like the Cleveland Browns having the RV quarterback?
I haven't seen any RVs around here lately. I did hear about that with Baker and the other guy, but Jordan and Henry and Andrew, I think, first of all, and I've coached in that room before. I think the first thing you want is you want a level of respect amongst all three of them. And you want them to be Utah State Aggies first and foremost, and they are. All three of those guys are tremendous team players. They're all three highly competitive, highly motivated individuals. And I think it's a very healthy mix, and it's a very healthy room right now. And Coach Yost does a great job of managing all that. And you got highly competitive kids in there, and they're all talented.
There is always going to be excitement for fall camp, but it seems like maybe it's been ratcheted up a couple of notches. I mean, how palpable is that excitement that you're sensing right now?
I'm not sure what palpable means, but I think we're talking about excitement.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all are. And it's always, it's the what's this team, what's this 2018 version of the Aggies going to look like? Is the depth going to come back and play better? If they do, watch out for the Aggies. What's the leadership and the chemistry going to be throughout training camp? And then when adversity strikes, it will come. It comes in the form of injuries. It comes in the form of, losing a player here or there for a game or a half, or maybe one of the best players, leaders. We've seen it happen at certain positions over the years. How do we adjust? Number one, schematically and mentally and emotionally as coaches and players, but then how do we overcome it? And the best teams that we've had here have overcome that and really crushed it when the adversity has come. So that's coming. I don't think any of us knows how we're going to handle that, and so that's what makes it exciting,
Talk about the defense. Last year, you guys struggled against the run a little bit. Talk about bringing in Keith, and then you have like most of your front seven coming back. I feel like you guys can improve in stopping the run significantly?
If we don't, we'll all be in trouble. I would like to hope that. Those guys are bigger and they're stronger. They're another year experienced. You're adding 2 transfers to the mix. I've already mentioned those 2 guys. I think they're going to come in and play and help. They're not the only solution. They're only part of it. The development of all the returning guys are part of that solution. Potentially role players moving up and playing more, part of that solution. Replacing Dallin and Jalen and having good production from the secondary is part of that solution. The chemistry and the cohesion and the leadership of the coaching staff on defense led by Keith is part of that solution. There's many solutions.
So you mentioned replacing Jalen and Dallin. The secondary was your strength last year. Like, you feel like you guys have managed to fill in, bring in some role players or transfers enough to.
We'll see. A lot of you guys don't know their names yet. The fans don't know their names yet, but I think there's some talented guys back there. How well do they gel? Can we stay healthy? How much better does the front 7 play? The better the front 7 plays, the more the secondary will be tested. It's football, right? Front 7 doesn't play very well. Secondary looks better, and they don't get near as tested. I'm giving you some hints right now to last year a little bit in that evaluation. So,
Coach, since we're talking about the secondary, you've only got 2 cornerbacks that have ever seen action in an FBS game.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about the spring that the group, the 6 of them, had as a whole, and how you feel about their development.
They're a competitive group. I think their football knowledge is pretty high for young players. Julius Brown has done a really nice job with them. The leadership of Gage Ferguson, Jontrell Rockmore, Jamarcus Ingram has been really key for that group. Yes, I just mentioned, except Ingram can go back and forth and play both. I mentioned a couple safeties, but that's leadership in that DB room. It's a room, and then it's a position amongst the room. And, we do need guys to step up at corner. Somebody will in training camp, and we'll go play with them.
If I could just piggyback off that question
Okay.
really quick. What led to the decision to move Jamarcus from corner to safety in spring?
Something I'd been thinking about. We thought about it during bowl prep. Just knowing Dallin was going to be leaving. Where's the safety production? We as some of the returning safeties that had roles last year, from Aaron Wade to Braxton Gunther, some of those guys in roles last year, how much do they improve and how better do they play? Shaq Bond's a new safety. Christian Nash is a new safety. Jamarcus is athletic. He's long. He's rangy. He can play your free safety, your post safety. He's smart. He's sharp. He knows it now after spending the spring there at safety. He can play it from the safety. He's got corner physical skills. Go back and forth. Makes us a lot more versatile in the back end.
There's one more question on Jordan
Yep.
Love.
Yep.
What was one thing from last season you were specifically wanting him to work on for the offseason?
I think I think he wants his accuracy to go up, completion percentage to go up, be a little bit more accurate. That's done with a few things. Number one, your footwork from a physical standpoint, and then number one from a mental standpoint would be your knowledge of the system, timing, where guys are going to be, knowing where your dump down guys are, where your back is, where your outlet is, those kind of things. I think we saw some improvement during the spring, and I think that you'll see some in training camp.
And then along with that as well, bringing in a new starter midseason, not the best of scenarios to open up a playbook for them. Has this offseason, is it going to open up maybe a couple more wrinkles or options for a quarterback? Yeah,
I would say so. We didn't condense it for him though last year. I can say that. But Jordan's smart. He invests a lot of time. He's got a lot of the same qualities as a lot of the quarterbacks that have played well around here that have invested off-season time and grabbing guys and learning stuff. He's a football junkie. He's a film junkie. He's in here all the time. I hope he reaps some of the benefits of how hard he's worked.